And if everything worked, we should be live now. And hey, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Everything Outside Code. And today I have a very wonderful guest, my guy from way back. If you go to Twitter and you see like my Twitter bio, you should find him there somewhere.
Yeah.
I refuse to change that bio. I refuse to change that like Twitter header because if I lose that picture, I can't find it again. And that's like the
Let me go and
beginning.
download it for you.
Yeah.
You're
But
my
anyways,
guy.
we have Ace on the stream today. Ace, you could just introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adewale Abati. That's my government name. But I force people to call me Ace. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for me. Like William said, it's been a long road coming to this point. I am super excited, thrilled to be gracing, have the opportunity to grace this podcast and have this conversation with William and hopefully people that join in the audience as well, and just have a good conversation. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
I really like your Twitter header, by the way, because I think recently I just went to your profile and I saw the header. It's like me, you, Code Beast, Ire, and it's just like that's a long time ago. But it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see. Thank you for having me here.
Sorry. I'm most honored, I would say. For anyone listening, you can hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube somewhere, so I can feed my family maybe with this in a couple of years or decades. I don't know. But today, as usual, we'll be talking about everything outside code, everything outside software engineering. The really hard bits and I think the difficult parts of both shipping software and just living life as someone in tech generally. And we have Ace. So Ace, what's up? What are you up to these days? I think a better question would be, how did you get here? Let's go before we come to like, what are you up to these days?
That is a good deep question, I guess. How did I get here? It's a question that is filled with so many things that are outside of my control. For example, my journey into tech itself was totally decided outside of my own capacity. And this is what I mean by that. For example, I would assume I was a brilliant student as a child, right? For the things I was interested in, I was good at them. But I just sucked at computer science. I think at some point in my junior school, I had like F in computer science, just because I couldn't be bothered about Charles Babbage. I couldn't be bothered about first generation computers. Like, what's my own? I'm happy for them, but also there's one memory that stuck in my head where we're in computer lab, maybe in my GS2 or something, where the teacher was so angry, came into the class, so angry, went to the front, like everybody that had left stand up. And I was part of people that stood up.
You stood up first.
Because my surname is also ABA, so I'm like 001. I'm in front of people.
So you're like number one.
So I remember I have that memory of me failing computer science clear as day. But my mom, for some reason, I don't know why. I think, she had more experience than me at the time, and she was seeing what the world was going into. So I had to take me to like a 1 month computer training. Like 1 month, nobody does 1 month computer training. It's like 3 months, 6 months.
3 months,
she's
6
like,
months, 9 months.
But she was just like, you know what, you have a break. I don't want you sitting at home. Just go and sit down. Even if you sit down there, just be looking at people, just go there.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I was just, I was uninterested. Then I realized that there were video games on the computer. Then I became interested. And then there was a teacher there that just noticed that I was always like alive at break time compared to the rest of the other hours. And it was like, you know what, he's not going to let me play games again until I pay attention during the classes.
Yeah.
And that's actually been the story of my life. You give me a reason to do something, you find me fired up to do it. So like, I want to play game. So I started paying attention in the class. And it just came natural to me. Like it started to make sense. Things that I've been learning from like that did not make any sense started to make sense.
Yeah.
I could use some of the like applications. I think then you're learning CorelDRAW, Microsoft Word, Adobe PageMaker. The names are just coming back right now. As I'm saying, they're just coming back. But and it just came naturally to me. And I was playing Virtual Cop 2 then too. So cool stuff. From there, I went back to school. I was like, maybe I say I like this computer thing. I think I had 1 more year of doing computer science, and I had A throughout the rest of the year. It was like a massive jump. It's just like a flip, a switch just flip like a switch just flip like. I was interested in this thing, and now I'm like, it's like I really enjoy this thing.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I just went back home one day. Mommy, I think I'll study computer science. Nobody told me to study computer science. So just from that, so what I meant by it was out of my control was just me going to that place for like 1 month, literally changed the trajectory of my life. Because from there, I just made every decision that went in this direction.
Yeah. You could have been a doctor like this now.
Probably not a doctor, maybe an electrical engineer. Because I like screwdrivers and stuff. I don't do that anymore, which is weird. But I used to love screwdrivers. I used to love putting screwdriver into like the the meter wire. I was
Well, now you like your life. You need to enjoy.
So if I wasn't, so if I didn't have that like switch, I might have gone to electrical engineering or civil engineering or something at some point. But look at me now. I play.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. So I guess like every other thing just follows from that.
Yep, just cascaded on top of that.
Yep. All the way to your baby boy lifestyle in Europe. That's a huge leap from F to A to.
Yep, everything got founded on that 1 month trajectory the other way, man. Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's I think oftentimes a lot of people cannot pinpoint that point in their life where everything changed. Right? Yeah, it's like we're just living, and it's like things happen, but a lot of times there's usually a point in time where it was this thing that changed it. I got sent to computer school as well, for 3 months, like just 3. I saw like Corel code. They told me if I want to become a computer engineer, I need to spend 12 months.
To learn the entire thing,
there were some guys there that were like computer engineers. They had 1 MB flash drives on their neck with like chain.
It was like it was a flex. Like, do you have a flash drive? No, you don't. I have a flash drive.
Have you seen this silver thing is 1 megabyte?
100%.
Then we had floppy disks. Yeah.
Okay, so I did all
that. Someone listening will be like, "What is floppy disk?" Without them, look for the save icon. That
is the exactly
the real thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I did all that, but still, like I didn't. I think after that, I forgot about computers again.
Oh, I see.
Till university, and then I studied chemical engineering. Nothing about computers. We did like QBasic in, I think it was 3rd level, and we wrote it on paper, the usual way. Like you write the code on paper and submit, and hopefully the guy thinks it's correct. And then somehow we found ourselves still doing this to eat.
Yeah. How did that? I mean, I guess I'm going to be interviewed, but how did that switch for you? Like doing the QBasic in 3rd level to coming back into writing code or doing technical writing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it was mostly like the decision to not be poor.
Poverty sat you down.
it's like poverty sat me down. I was like, bro, if you want to do, because I studied chemical engineering, which was the thing that you want to work in oil and gas, and there's so many other people, but I was really good at it. I was really good at chemical engineering. I really liked it. I used to see like fluid mechanics in the air and all that, those kind of things. But after school, if you don't want to be poor, you need to make a way. You need to be a hustler. And,
I agree.
Yeah, so I joined my guys then and joined the community. That's where we met. I started learning.
That's could be second year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Deciding that we need to make something out of this thing, and that's basically the journey. So maybe one day I'll go back to chemical engineering because I really still like it. But until I can eat.
Someone has a question in the comments about why we are writing code on paper in school. Hi Johnny, thank you for joining. No, I'm not streaming on Twitch, but just to reference that question, it reminded me of the story I like to share about you liking something and wanting to do it. So like I said, my own trajectory changed from that, deciding, now I want to use computers. I like computers, now I want to do computers. And then when I got admission into the university and to study computer science, I was elated. I wanted to build Yu-Gi-Oh games. I was really super pumped. That's a different story. How my morale got killed to build games. That's a different story. But when I was there and we're doing the normal admin stuff in university, Nigerian University, I had someone that sat beside me and I asked him a question. I was like, so why did you choose computer science? Because I was pumped. I was like, we are going to be the next Bill Gates. We're going to be, those kind of things. Like, let's change the world. So I was super pumped. So I asked the guy, like, trying to find like should I say a brother in arm or something like that, so that we can invent things together, be the guy or something like that. So I asked him, I said, so why did you choose computer science? And he just looked at me and he's like, I'm not waiting and give me.
Wow.
So like he didn't give two rats ass about computer science or anything, and he was just like,
Yeah.
this is what they give to me, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I saw the lack of light in his eyes, if that makes sense.
It's like this guy needs to be saved.
Yeah, so and I think he also kind of like shaped the way everyone approach classes from there. Because for me now, I'm excited about
Yeah.
not just like what I'm learning in class, but what the applications of it, what I'm going to do with it
Mhm.
outside. But for someone
Yeah.
else, it was just like I'm just coming here to get grades and I need to graduate. And when I look at people that maybe are in tech or are doing stuff, innovative stuff today, I feel like that difference is just there between everybody might
Mhm.
have strengths, talent, and all those things, but just that
Yeah.
decision to be like, I chose this, I like this, that's why I'm doing it. Like
Yeah.
when you went back to the boot camp, like you want to do this compared to this is where I found myself. It's like two
Mhm.
different entire direction and impact. So
Yeah.
even if you want to judge this person by what they are doing, just because this person might like this job more than this other
Yeah.
person, it can make all
Yeah.
the difference in the world. And it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
That's definitely true. Because even after school, right, you
Mhm.
can always tell those that started doing this for the love of it, and those that started doing it, and those that started doing it because others were doing it, and then there's us that are doing it because it looks like this is going to pay, right?
It must pay.
It's like we just have to hustle it out and make sure it pays.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that. And to Johnny asking, they say you said studying elect here, still trying to find my purpose in the department. Um, just my experience from studying chemical engineering. I think the one thing I learned from just having an engineering background in general is just the problem solving ability it bequeaths you, right? You're just good at taking variables from nowhere, taking like some abstract problem, and then you have to solve it. You have to consider assumptions, like the typical methods were thought, and then walk all the way to solving that problem. And again, the best people that are, I think, software engineers, a lot of them have like electrical engineering backgrounds. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know why, but that's something I've noticed as well. It's like sort of like a common switch in the last, I think, maybe 10, 15
Yeah.
years.
Like Johnny mentioned, I just told you like a few minutes ago. If I was not doing computer science, I'll probably have studied elect because I just like
Yeah,
doing and building things. And I think there's an overlap between people that do elect because by the time you wire stuff together, you want to add logic to it. I want this thing to do
yeah,
something unique. And you find yourself dabbling with
yeah,
code, and the next thing you're in that entire space. So I feel
yeah,
like there's a correlation with it. I don't say this
yeah,
often, but I wish I did not study computer science. Why? Because I feel like if I'd acquired elect skills, I would have been
yeah,
forced to learn how to code at some point. But I will not be a guy that has what's it called? Domain level knowledge of elect, for example, but
yeah,
learned how to code.
yeah,
So I'll be a different person entirely from someone that I
yeah,
learned how to code, but I can put wires together.
yeah. Yeah, I think you would. But then again, in today's world, you could find yourself in like embedded systems and
Yep,
like some very like lower level programming because you have fundamentals of electrical engineering. So
hundred
there's
percent.
always pros and cons to this thing. So Johnny, I would say finish the electrical engineering if you take my advice, and then you could continue coding either on the side or you do it
Yeah.
full time
I see a couple
afterwards.
of nice faces here. Hi Daniel, thanks for joining. Rizel is my colleague at Block. How you doing, Rizel? Idris, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to everybody.
So, speaking of what you do now, let's come to the present. So we're
Yeah.
done with the past. So speaking of now, what you do now? You said result. What should you at Block?
Yeah,
What
so
happens?
right now I am a staff developer advocate at Block.
Woo!
I like to put emphasis on the staff because I did not think I was staff, but thank God for Johnny Messis. So yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm a staff developer advocate at Block, and Block is, I mean, it's a parent company of like multiple business units. If you've heard of
Mhm.
Cash App, Tidal,
Yeah.
Square, and TBD, where I work, which is the business unit I work on, as the parent company
Mhm.
is Block, formerly known as Square as well. So
Yeah.
at TBD, what we do is we're trying to build a decentralized future, and that involves us doing, yes, we sell, and that involves us doing, building a bunch of technologies, and we have like two major, pillars right now, which is,
Mhm.
Web5 and TBDEX. So Web5 is, building all this core infrastructure, and then TBDEX is also making taking is built on the architecture that Web5 is. for us to be able to build a system, financial institutions, right? Be able to empower financial institutions with compliance, trust, and the likes. So we have like the underlying infrastructure with Web5, building a digitalized future, and also TBDX that is utilizing Web5 to aid the financial future in an exciting way.
Yeah. So bring it like 2 levels down. I've only heard Web5 from you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. So
I've only heard Web5 from you. So what's Web5?
So what is Web5?
How did you skip Web4 from Web2, 3? It's like piece to 4.
So let's take a history lesson. Let's take a history lesson. Web 0.0. Nobody had the web. It did not exist. We're all just in our silos. You go to the library, you ask for references, you flip pages, look for the reference, and then the web 1.0 was created to build like an interconnection of pages, right? Where you can link from one page to another page just to share information, and there's deep linking, hyperlinking, and all of those things. And then Web 2.0 came where people started to add logic, people started to add like databases, more unique experiences, which is mostly what we have today. Twitter and like platforms like this that encourage sharing of information and just empowering people generally. What the web is basically today as Web 2.0. So the next point to that was, if you look at Web 2.0, the web itself was designed to be a free platform for everybody. Anyone can come, create a page, and share information, and then there can be interconnection among them. But we've moved towards a page where there started to be like centralization across corporations, where, for example, Google is giving us Gmail. So everyone's email service almost by default, either using Google or Yahoo or stuff like that. So it's centralized. Social media identification on the internet. You're using Twitter or you're using Instagram. Maybe some other few smaller ones that most people would not recognize. But basically, things have been isolated, right? And then Web3 came in because we wanted to decentralize stuff, but primarily focused on the blockchain, right? So I never did love blockchain, so forgive my terminology if I misuse them in any way. But then smart contracts started coming in, and then if you want to do something, and I don't know about this specifically, but even in Web3, there was a lot of focus on cryptocurrencies as well. Yes. So everything was just like intertwined into that space. But with Web5, and the reason why we skip Web4 is this. I personally I think naming conventions are just what people agree to do, right? Just a group of technologies that work together, and then you say, okay, let's group this and I'll call it this name. So take it with a pinch of salt. But Web5 and why it is Web5 and not Web4 is that we see the way the web is today, which is like with the interconnection between websites, all of those things, platforms, and also the dream of decentralization that Web3 promised, where people can have their own data and take care of it, where I can identify myself on the internet without relying on X or Instagram or Gmail or whatever the case is. And at the same time, I can make claims. So basically, the way the web was initially designed for everyone to be able to come and do their thing, basically empowering that. So when you combine Web 2 plus Web 3, you get Web 5. But it's not a complete, it's not a complete union set. Like, I've forgotten my Venn diagrams. It's not a complete union set, but it's like taking the best of both worlds to do stuff like this. Yes. So there are 3 things I like to highlight, which is like identity, trust, and data, right? Your information. Right. I feel like those are like 3 things you start thinking about Web 5, or why is it when needed? Is these 3 things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about trust. Let's talk about identity for a start. So imagine you go to websites today, Web 2 websites, whatever the case is, and you want to sign in. You sign in with your email address. It doesn't belong to you. You sign in with Twitter. It doesn't. The Twitter handle might not. Are you taking notes?
I'm learning.
So Twitter handle might not belong to you. You sign in with Instagram. Someone else might, like we saw with X. They took the X handle from someone that had it. Right.
Yeah.
But the way the identity works is that there's no way for us to do identity on the web. But then with W3C, which is like a governing standard body on the webs, started working on the decentralized identifiers. And what is this? So think about our TLD. I just wrote an article recently, like explaining the decentralized identifiers for 10-year-olds. But think about our TLD, which is like top level domains.
Do you have a link?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a link to the article? So
yes, I do.
Can just follow through.
I can share it in chat, right? I think.
Yeah. You can share it in chat.
Oh, I have to connect my YouTube to do that. 1 second.
You could just put it in private chat.
Then you share it. All right.
I'll share it.
Yeah.
Someone send a feature request to StreamYard so that anyone.
Yeah, I just needed to sign it, but I didn't prepare before. There's a question from Everything Satoshi. No, I never worked on Nostra. I have heard of it, but I never really looked into it, so I'm not big on stuff like that. But yeah, so basically, the secret identifiers is like, how can you be on the internet and identify yourself with any way that the internet is required? So I was comparing it to TLDs. So look at where we have .com, .co, whatever the case is. They are all still domain names. They're still that resolve into either an IP address or something like that. So deeds, which is short for like the secret identifiers, they're very similar to TLDs, where you can choose to have like deed key, deed web, different methods, but like everything, that entire string then translates to who you are as a person. So anyone can create any of these deeds, but then you have they resolve somewhere. So that somewhere is where you house your information, and you can reuse it anywhere, and no one can take it from you. So that is how Web5 in quotes also solve identity on the internet.
So is it, you say this is decentralized, because then I will ask who controls this resolution. Is it a server? Is it a ledger? What exactly is it? A record somewhere?
So it's based on the implementation of the method that you choose, right? So think about the way they did like the .dev domain. Someone else, like I think I can't remember the history behind that, but it's like that's why I compare it to TLDs. You have different open bodies that are introducing their own methods. This is why we are creating these methods, and the methods are different in terms of their strengths, what you should use them for, recommendations, and then you can choose how you want to go about that. But most of these people create libraries where once you create the deed, you download the public key, private key information about it, so you can use it wherever you want to. No one is in control of it. It's an open standard that has been created by this open body for people to be able to create an identity that can be used and resolved. So like open source works, you have platforms that resolve deeds. You have platforms that show you, because every deed is connected to a deed document, which is what houses. It's just like that IP resolving, right?
Yeah.
Which houses all the information. This is where this person's information is, blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's how identity is being resolved in Web5.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Is it? Yeah, it does make sense. I'm just thinking, is it as complex as the current system with TLDs in Web2, or this is more complex in your opinion?
I don't think it's very complex. I think it's just about understanding. Once you understand, which is probably saying, once you understand it, it's kind of straightforward.
So is it like a steep? Is there a steep learning curve to it, or this is something that I can just say, hey, once you buy a domain name,
if
there's
you think
this
about
registrar
it today,
somewhere that owns it.
Yeah. So
you can just use it.
Exactly. So I think eventually what we'll get to is we get to a point where we have like digital wallets that have, everybody can easily use it. The way you can easily go to your website today and buy a domain. We might think developers are the ones doing like buying domains and stuff, but literally anybody in the world today can actually buy a domain by just going to the right website. So it's going to get to a point where, because it's still like a work in progress in general, like as a unit, where there are available digital wallets, and it's easy to then create your own deed, or we use your deed everywhere. So it becomes like second nature to having like what's it called? That question to me, are there relays to be run? I don't think so. And in my opinion, does this scale? Yes, it definitely scales, because I just talked about identity, so that's just the first part. Once I talk about trust and data, you see why I think it scales in the long run. But in terms of this question, are there relays to be run? I don't think so. I don't even think I've talked about relays before. I don't think they're connected in any way, but I'll explain why I think it scales in a few minutes.
Yeah.
You
could just get to that.
Yeah. So the identity part is created, you have it, you have your private keys, you can store in wallets, whatever the case is there. Then the next part, before we even go to data, is trust, right? So it's like, does this key, for example, once you can always identify yourself on the internet, for example, then and there are services, for example, browsers start to like get in, and there are things that didn't used to be universal on browsers. For example, we needed password managers, but now browsers introduce password managers. Imagine we get to a point where browsers introduce decentralized identity managers, for example, and you can easily sign in with your deeds anywhere. So now the trust comes in. The reason why this scales is because this is a string, like your name. It's like, does your name, William Imo, does this scale? You use it like literally anywhere. It scales, right? So imagine we get to a point where you need to get certificates, you need to get IDs, which is like passports or driver's license, stuff like that. And the way they tie it to who you are is through your deed. It's through the central identifier. I think personally, I think the best systems that scale are systems that are easily built upon. So if you look at verifiable credentials, for an example, they already exist. They're already in use across multiple boards. I think LinkedIn uses a form of it for when they issue you certificates when you used to complete a course. They are very secure. They are cryptographically signed. So it's not something that you can tamper with. But the way they can connect this digital signature or this digital document to you is by using your deed. And this deed is not dependent on some other infrastructure somewhere. It always works, because it's kind of, some of it are embedded where the information, this is this person I need to locate. and you have your private keys with you, wherever you choose to put it. So it stands the test of time. I have a live stream with Zel, who was here a few seconds ago, where we talked with someone, I think it's Elum. They currently work with educational bodies like universities, right? So what these universities do is they have a very important key ingredient in the entire system. We cannot issue certificates to people on stuff that might not stand the test of time or that is not reliable, that can be read. So they had an hesitation about blockchain, for example, because we asked them, they had an hesitation about blockchain. They're like, we can't use blockchain to issue people certificates in the name of decentralization because I can't remember what their reasons were, but I feel like they can be written or stuff like that, and it's just blockchain. But they started thinking about verifiable credentials and digital identity and decentralized identifiers because once you create it and it's signed, it's there. Like it's there. And for you to know how important this thing is for these people, it turns out that these universities can actually provide certificates from way back that were written on sheepskin. That's how much information survival rate easy for them. They want to be able to discover and recover and find any information they need to find in years, just in centuries, if you may. So for them to even consider this technology like something that can stand the test of time, it goes beyond scale for me at this point. Because anyone can create a VC. We have multiple use cases already in the works. We have countries, governments that are already using like digital digital travel credentials, where you create a VC in the name of a passport, right? Because they are not, you cannot just mutate them. Once you edit them, they're already corrupt. It's not something that you can tamper with anyhow. They're cryptographically signed. All those encryption, everything is there. And you can use this to uniquely identify a person or say, oh, this person is on the sanction list, or this person should not be allowed to fly. Random stuff like that. And this deed, just like your name, William Imo, whatever. There could be like 10 William Imos, right? But there cannot be multiple person that has your deed, because your deed is your deed. So it's a very unique identifier. And stuff like that is why I say, like, I believe it will scale in the long run, not because of just its own stuff. It's very dependent on people building an infrastructure on top of it that becomes usable for the common man.
Acceptable.
Everybody can easily use it. But once that barrier is crossed, the way other systems are built on top of it, you might never even think about deeds because it just works in the background. You might never think about it in the stream.
What's the current barrier to this adoption, right? Is it like an education problem, or is it just that this is fairly new, so there isn't like folks just not naturally know because time?
I think it's still fairly new, and a lot of infrastructure ecosystem still needs to be built. It's like, let's imagine when, say, Apple came out, like iOS or even Android, you seen the people to build like apps, they're able to build stuff on top of it. Also, when like domain name services came out, or even HTTPS came out, you need, for example, let's encrypt, making it easy for everyone to have a SSL.
So just the SSL certificate.
So like once this is an ecosystem that still needs to grow a bit, but once they start to like people building on top of it, and then it gets to a point where, for example, this is just an example, browsers, Google Chrome, it's like, okay, a lot of people are using deeds on the internet. Let's make it easy for people to like reuse their deeds on their browser. Then people start finding out what are deeds, which is also my job. I'm a star developer advocate, which one of this is why I also love this job. It's like a new technology is coming in. Like I remember when I was a younger child, like, and you are hearing these new things, and you wonder, like, what are these human beings that are able to create something innovative? And being a part of like this entire opportunity to be able to talk to other people about this new technology. I don't know what's going to look like in 10 years, but I imagine in 10 years when my son is maybe 15 years old or whatever the case is, and it's like, oh, Dad, I have a deed, and I'll be like, yes, in my taste, I have it. Right? It's like,
you started this.
We're part of that entire journey. I think that would be a source of pride, and it's one of the reasons why I'm super excited about my job as well. So it's something that would, as long as I feel like once the work continues to grow, something that has scale for potential to work like globally. And like I said, you might get to a point where phone providers, wallets, browsers, as the case may be, start to like improve their experience. That you might not even think about deeds as deeds. The way we don't think about your IP address. You don't think about your IP address, but it's there.
But they're there.
Right. So if you're able to get to that point where you're able to sign into stuff, you're able to show that this is my certificate, I corrected with a 2 or whatever the case is. Not even thinking about the underlying deed there, because it's just an identity identification process. And I feel like once you get to that point, it becomes even more seamless for users.
And I think with like similar to IP address, they would have built like a lot of abstraction on top of it and refined the experience of using it. That the average person doesn't know, like,
doesn't even know that
there's a deed underneath.
But
Yeah,
every
they
they
just know
go to twitter.com every other day, but they have no idea
yeah,
what the IP address of twitter.com is, like stuff like that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So we need people to adopt this. We need people to build with this. How does
Yes.
anyone get in? How does anyone get started? Do they have to come from Web3? Because I've seen similar, deeds, like something around the same paradigm as deeds. I've seen them in Web3 space.
Yeah.
A lot of startups do those to replace
Yeah.
like certificate verification systems and all that stuff. So how
Yeah.
does someone get in? How do they get started? What
Yeah.
background should they come?
Yeah. So I think you can come from any background as long as you're, first of all, at least for a start, interested in the web. If you have any form of web
Okay.
experiences, I feel like you can get right in because, like I've described, it fits right into the way we currently build the web. I have examples. We have examples on the TBD website, which is where I work, obviously, that uses Noxt. You build a normal application, but then you introduce identity using deeds. You store information using credentials. Like everything works like a normal, like the flow that you normally think about it. But then you start to introduce these new pillars, these new concepts. So how do I identify users? I identify users through deeds versus come and sign in with your email. How do I prove that this person completed as the IS score on this website? Instead of maybe storing it in your DB and it's just there, you issue them a verifiable credential. How do I verify that they've completed it? So these are the way to integrate into it. So as there's no barrier into starting to get into it. But like you asked the initial question in terms of you've seen different solutions. I think someone was in chat. Everything Satoshi talking about Nostri. I feel like that also addresses identity, but I don't know much about it, so I can't go into it. But it's people wanting to address this identity problem and going about different ways to do it. So the Web5 is a unique way that we've gone about this, picking three pillars: that decentralized identifiers, the verifiable credentials, and the decentralized web nodes to combine this together to be Web5. So if anyone wants to get into this with how I've explained it, you can start with our own developer documentation website. I can show you my screen. Yeah. And it's basically like, you can put the link on chat as well, developer.tbd website. So if you go there, you see about TBDX that I mentioned earlier, and also about Web5 itself. The SDKs exist in JavaScript, Kotlin, Swift. So you can already start to like experiment and play with them. All of this is built in the open, by the way. If you go to GitHub, you see the source code. You can, contribute to it. You can. There's a Discord channel as well that we just people talk about stuff, what they're building with it. And like I said, it's a growing ecosystem, and I think it's one of the most exciting things about it. That every other week, every other weekend, you find new ways that people are building stuff on top of this. And I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, that's great. What you say is the link? Could you put it in somewhere?
Yeah, developer.tbd website.
The website, is that your own? Like,
I just sent you.
where did that come from?
Yeah, that's our own TLD. I mean, everybody said you can always buy .website domain, right? Yeah, anyone can.
Really? I actually didn't know.
I mean, what people can. There are thousands of TLDs these days. You can buy anything at this point.
I haven't seen William.
You can check for it.
I wish there was one. The thing is, folks will just dive it. It's not like it's special, but it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, so anyone that's interested can check this out. Hopefully, we use this to make it up, William, at some point.
We'll see. But yeah, definitely excited to talk about this with anyone else in chat. I have Angie, hello Angie, in chat as well. Angie's my manager at TBD. She's super cool.
Yeah, I met Angie at Atlanta.
Nice.
Render ATL.
Oh, nice. Are you going this year?
Last year. I'm still thinking about it. Do you have VIP tickets for me?
No, I don't have
put you on the spot. And put you on the spot in the stream.
No, I'm gonna skip past that. No, I don't have VIP tickets for you.
we have VIP tickets for me. I'm heading out there again. But it's fun. I'll find a way to go there. If you're going to be there, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's just super far from Oslo, from Norway, flying all the way to Atlanta. I've done it twice. I'm thinking about the third time, but we'll see. So I'm thinking like from the days back in the days in Nigeria, I used to build like a ton of stuff. I remember one time, like, was it For Loop, where like Iski just has like a ton of startups. You're just living up to the would I say the story you told. It's like you just wanted to build stuff and you were fascinated about stuff. So you had like tons of stuff. that you just kept shipping every other week. It's like every meetup we had, you had something. I would expect something. So
I actually miss those
which of
days.
which of those things survived till now? I know you had like
Yeah,
made in Nigeria.
I think that's the only one that survived till now. There is one as well that people keep tagging me about because they're using it, but I've not had time to go look at it. And it's display medium post was a WordPress plugin I
Okay.
built back then.
Yeah, you had like WordPress plugins, like every other, like 2 business days, we've cooked one thing.
Oh my days. It's not that serious. But yeah, like the display medium post was one of my first plugins, I think, that crossed like 10,000, 15,000 users. I was elated. It was really nice. Just imagine
Yeah.
like a small boy from Lagos and you have 10,000 people using your.
Wow.
It was really exciting back then. But I barely
Yeah.
maintain it these days. But I still get emails about people that use it and it's broken. And I'm like, okay, one of
Yeah.
these days I'll check into it. But today, one of the ones that is like very much alive and we started working on it again is definitely made in Nigeria. And you know the story back in those days where I think the community was just getting up and there were conversations and doubt about how we just consume, and it's not like there weren't many creators. And I knew people like myself that were like writing code like they had no life. I knew people like Prosper, Codebeast, every other person. Then I was like, there's no way that you can continue to claim that what's it called? Nigerians were not building applications that people were using all over the world. And it was random. It was a very small project then. It was just like, hey, let me check. Let me even find out if Nigerians create stuff. And we started making the list and more people started sending in requests. I think we have over 200 projects. And it's not just about projects, because there are projects that are really good, but they are focused on the Nigerian, like Nigerian developers or Nigerian icons or, banks in Nigeria and stuff like that. So we didn't even have like some of them on this list. But this ones are like specifically like, if you live in Australia or you work in the US or you do this or you work with Knox or you work with any of these projects, you can actually use any of these things for your solution. So those are like like the criteria for the projects that made it into this list. And we have like over 200 today, which shows like the impact of the community growth that's come out of this side of the world. And it's one of the things I'm like super inspired about or with or whatever the English is. But over the years, it's continued to grow. We have some very like popular ones like Chakra UI. I think that might be one of the most popular ones.
I think that's like the most popular one.
Yeah. I think everyone around the world knows Chakra UI.
Yeah, Shag's the madness on that one.
Yeah, we had very exciting ones to that. Like this, that they appear to be some form of like, what's it called? Engineering marvel. We have people doing AI stuff, we have people doing really, really cool stuff. And I think the main purpose and the reason why it's still alive is I have people come up to me and ask questions about how they can do stuff. And I also remember how I went to people to ask about questions about what does this path look like, all right? But imagine a place where they can see people like them, or they can just see, oh, for example, ASAS 3 project. Yeah, this is how I build this. Oh, it was building this in 2017. That's like ages ago where I can start now. Oh, this code is so bad. How did you write this code back then? Like all of this is there. So we started like a new feature to more like share stories about people. Talked about Prosper, and Prosper is huge, right? Inspiring people that are also developers, open source or not. So we want to be able to tell all of these stories. Like these people were like very much like you, right? Some of them didn't even know what they were doing. Some of them were trying to learn. Some of them were just trying to build stuff. I remember like you said about me. I remember like weekends back then. Shalva, for example, is building one Twitter bot or the other, and these are people that were just doing this for the excitement of it and just solving problems. And I think we are in a rat race where everyone needs to make it out of Nigeria, for example, and people are really focused on just making money. But there are also people that are building solutions that change lives, and I think it inspires the next generation, but also highlights the amazing talents that we have right now in the space. And that's probably the only reason why this website is still alive, because it's way, way bigger than me. It's way bigger than me. Yeah.
Computer scientist and motivational speaker.
I should add that to my bio.
Perfect, man. But you're very correct. I remember, I think just finishing school, then I saw like Prosper was, I think, number 4 in the world on GitHub.
Yeah, it was trending number 1 at
some
point with
It was trending. It was trending number 1. I was like, even though we're learning, like, we're just getting started there. I'm like, okay, there's hope. Because
then you see Prosper meet up and you be like, I see this guy.
Hustling small chops with me.
I see this guy that had small chops with this training on GitHub, which is like a global. Yeah. Like, goddamn, how?
Yeah, it's trying on GitHub, and it's like they're doing like amazing things. So definitely did motivate a lot of people then to just keep
100%.
doing. And to train on GitHub, you're not getting paid for it. It's like building open source project. I remember Prosper was like PHP king then. I mean, till now, he's still championing it, even though against all odds, right? He still did those. He wasn't getting paid for those, but that definitely did inspire like a lot of us to just keep going. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think definitely you should continue with this project. And I guess these days it's storytelling. That's what's the more important bit. So the more stories you can tell from it, I think the more people you're able to impact and help.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I'm even considering right now, because even when we started telling the stories, we wanted to focus on people that had built projects in the list. But I think just by sharing it on Twitter, there were people that also reached out, and there were like conversations around people that were not necessarily maybe building stuff, but they were championing like progress in that entire space as a whole. So there's even conversations or deliberations about like highlighting some of these people. I think one of the key highlights was, I don't know his name, I apologize in advance, but there was a Nigerian that was working on I think like a Bitcoin organization or something like that, and they were building stuff in the open source stuff. It's not his project, but he's making massive contribution on an open source, like on a big platform through open source. And I realized that even if your project might not be on this list, I think those kind of people could also still be highlighted to achieve the end goal. Like even through open source, you can make impacts outside of even your own project. Probably Ethereum. I can't remember which one it was. So that kind of inspires you to want to tell some of these stories. Because I mean, I'm just Ace. I'm just doing my thing one day at a time. There are people that are like that. There are people like, what's your problem, this man? There are people that are doing like insane stuff. There are people that are like inspirations for other people. And I don't know about me. I get inspired when I see like Messi scoring or LeBron doing all those things. So I would imagine
not Ronaldo.
I mean, so I would also imagine that inspiration kind of like transcends different like engineers, different aspects of life. And just being able to provide this information to be accessible for people, it's really nice.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Ace. This has been like, I'm just trying to stick to time because there's like stuff to do right after. Time has flown by. I have like so many questions I didn't get to ask. But I guess
I'm sorry. I'm always glad to do this some other
time. Yeah, this has been really fun, man. This has been fun. So I guess anyone that wants to find you, ask like further questions.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask how you actually became like a staff developer advocate and what your day-to-day looks like at a company like Block. That's something I would like.
Can I do that in like 1 minute?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah, I mean, Angie is here in chat, and I think she can probably add to it or not. But when I saw the job opportunity, it's probably another inspiration or whatever. I was like, I don't know if I'm staff, but I like this job. I would give anything to work under Angie. And some of the job descriptions were like things I could do. Maybe not at the big scale that Block seems to be, but I feel like if I have the opportunity, at least I'll try my best. And I just threw everything I had into it. Read the documentation, studied what was going on, joined the Discord. Just wanted to learn as much as I could, even during the interview process. And I think, like you say, whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. But you can even do better. And I think I just put everything I had into it, and thankfully it worked out. I don't have any previous experience being staff, so everything is still a new journey, learning every day, and I think that's also key. Like just being open to learning something new every day. Because
definitely stepping up.
It starts to cascade. Definitely. So
that's
basically
great, man. Thank you so much for coming on the stream, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
This has been amazing, and let's do this some other time. And
definitely my pleasure.
Let's have a wonderful rest of the day then.
Shout out everyone. Thanks, Giselle. Bye.
I need to put last things. All right, guys.
I appreciate that, Giselle. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.